Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. By the way, we got an ad-free version of The Right Time, $5 a month with our friends at Supercast. Be sure to check that out. But for right now, it's the time of week where we have a guest join us, coming to us live from Las Vegas. Check him out at Yahoo Sports, talking NFL. Nate Tice, what's going on?
Not too much. I know football season ended, so I had to switch hats up. I put a hockey hat on. This is the one bandwagon I've ever jumped on, Bo. Vegas Golden Knights. I moved here and they went on a Stanley Cup run. And I was like, this is great. I don't have a hockey team. Let's do this.
No, it is the living proof that if you take a city that isn't that big and you give them one team, they are going to wrap their arms around that one team like nobody's business. Like, help me out with this with the Raiders, because I don't really know how it goes. I find the Raiders to be fascinating because they are the only team or the only franchise where the city doesn't matter.
Right.
As long as they keep that westward, their fans are up and down the coast of California in Las Vegas. They'll catch them $40 flights on Southwest End to games or drive in or wherever else. But the city doesn't matter. But at least from a distance, it doesn't feel like Las Vegas team. It just feels like they play in Las Vegas.
When I was with the Raiders, my second year there, they had the meeting. They called basically the whole staff, not just coaches, but everybody. Everybody that's on the staff in some way, shape, or form. Big meeting. Hey, we're looking at moving to Vegas. And the president at the time kind of it was a long meeting going over why, the stats why, the data why. And they said, because of that, the Raiders are a national team, even more so what we consider the Cowboys or even what we consider all those NFC East teams. Even the Vikings are kind of a national team. Gee, all the teams that won in the 60s and 70s are national teams. Weird how that works, talking about bandwagon hopping. But with the Raiders was they originally, even for a moment, thought just to have Raiders. Not Vegas, not Las Vegas, not anything. And even when they named themselves the Las Vegas Raiders instead of the Vegas Golden Knights, that actually kind of ticked off locals. Because they said, we don't call them Las Vegas Raiders. It's Vegas.
Interesting.
They chop it. So they kind of lost some local street cred with that, which is including the loss. And when they said they moved here, a big reason why, hey, why don't you put the Raiders in LA and the Chargers in Vegas, yada, yada, that national, international fan base of the Raiders, that their fans are willing to hop over from LA or the Bay Area or anywhere in the country, do a weekend in Vegas and get out. Would the Chargers have that pull? So the NFL was like, no, we need a team that's going to actually cook that up. So even if they haven't, they weren't even worried. Yeah, they want to do some local outreach stuff, but they were more worried about getting in those weekend fans, that national fan base. And that was a big, big reason why they were just like, we could just call you guys the Raiders and people would come, so to your point, they were thinking the same way too.
The Vegas part is interesting because I thought they were just trying to be too cool when they called the hockey team Vegas and not put the city name on. It never dawned on me that would be a nod to the locals.
Yes, it's like a local saying or a local way to call it. You never say Las Vegas. It's the Inglourious Bastards 3 thing. You kind of know. Oh, okay, gotcha. You don't say Las Vegas. It's just Vegas, just Vegas, just Vegas. And actually, I'll credit to the hockey team. Yeah, they won a bunch the first year. That builds a lot of fans. But before they even became a team here, they had players going out to because they got a bunch of kind of at the time thought of as scrubs, expansion stuff, kind of a lot of cast offs. Their first line, they call them the Misfits. They were going to local elementary schools. They were going to local businesses, doing the whole outreach stuff, but it was all organic. So all the Vegas guys, all the Vegas people are like, this is great. This, somebody likes us. They actually like us. And most of them didn't have a lot of hockey fans, at the time, but now it's huge. The local team here is huge and stuff like that, or as far as the kids teams and stuff. But yeah, that was part of it. They were saying, no, we want to build an actual base floor operation here because we're going to be here for a long time. I just thought that was super interesting with them.
Yeah. It's why I say, though, that I know everybody thinks a basketball team there is a great idea, and I think it's a terrible idea. I just don't think the city is big enough to sustain 2 winter sports. I'm saying the same thing about Salt Lake City, and they're swearing up and down to me that they're going to be able to hold down this hockey team and this basketball team. And I just, mathematically, I don't see how that's possible.
You need the 1-and-1 winter sport into the summer sport. You need, if you're in a town like this, a Portland, I know they don't have a summer team, but
right.
Yeah, even a St. Louis now. With the Blues and the Cardinals, that feels mean to St. Louis because it is a bigger city than that. But even like that, you need that kind of winter team, summer team. I'm kind of with you on that.
All right. So I don't know if you were still in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. If you were, I hope you didn't get no blood on your clothes. Like that was you see beatdowns like that in college national championship
Yeah.
games where you just look up and you're like, wow, look at all the look at all that talent Alabama has, right?
Yep.
Like I don't like Michigan TCU was an example that people, or was it Georgia TCU or whichever one they gave it? Yeah, it was Georgia. Either way it goes, that was a debacle.
Yeah.
And I think you could give better perspective than I could on just what the talent level is across the board for the Eagles.
I mean, you get the accolades, the all pros and everything. You get the first rounders, but that's the thing when you have blue chippers everywhere, and that really did feel like a blue chip battle or a blue chip differential type of game. It was like, yeah, you have the quarterback, but all the other positions matter if there's enough difference. The NFL is such a matchup league that if you have a 5-star going against a 4-star, okay, or a 95 overall against an 88 overall, okay. But if you have a 95 overall going against a 75 overall, and then next to him is a 92 overall going against an 80 overall, those are mismatches. And that's what good coaches with a bye week are going to pick at and poke at and identify and go after. So really just saw it up front. Joe Tooney's a great player, but he's not a left tackle. And he's going against Josh Sweat, who, Josh Sweat, I would say a year ago, I was like, okay, he's fine. A nice above average player in the league. Now I consider him a good edge, and going good against average at best, that's an advantage. Okay, now I got Milton Williams, who's about to get $20 million a year, or Jalen Carter going against a undrafted free agent that was studying for school 9 months ago. That's a 3-tier advantage, maybe even 2 tiers. And that's just up front. And then you get into receiver battles. You got Quinion Mitchell snuffing out receivers on the outside, Cooper DeJean. I mean, just all these guys, play after play. There's not a weakness that you could poke at, and that's just the Eagles' defense. And then you look at their offense, and it's like a Pro Bowl tight end, All Pro receiver, All Pro tackle, All Pro running back. So that's what it is. Is that even if you have most teams just have 1 or 2 matchups that you can poke at, the Eagles are going to have one almost by default every week or more because they just have so much talent. So that's what it is. Is no matter what, they're going to have a matchup where scheme only goes so far. It's going to come down to the Jimmies and Joes, and that's what the Eagles have. They got a lot of Jimmies and Joes on their team.
I mean, let's talk about the fact that up front they're just rotating Jordan Davis in.
Yeah, he's just Snorlax trotting out there for 5 plays.
Yeah, you're 6'6", 350-pound defensive tackle who was whichever one of them college awards it was that he won. And look, I understand that he has not become a dominant NFL player, but he didn't get no smaller.
right. Yeah, exactly. It's not like these guys get worse when they get into the NFL or get like less slim, I should say, or less fit, I should say, even if they gain weight. Even the depth there. That's a great point with the depth too. It's like next man up.
Like he's the other guy on the defensive line, right? It's Jalen Carter. It's Nolan Smith is over there playing one of those edges. Talking about Sweat, and then there's Jordan Davis starting 17 games. You don't even think about the fact that he was there.
Nope, at all. He could be a role player, and he would be a every down player for most teams. And then on top of it, because even like Jalix Hunt was a 3rd round pick they had this year. He starts small school guy. He starts peaking at the end of the year. And it's like, oh, now they got depth. So on top of star talent, the guys don't get any breaks that you're going against when you have depth on top of it, tangible depth, not just a guy that actually can make something out of these reps. I mean, so it's just the other guy, Ajomo. There's this defensive tackle. He comes in and just dominates right there. It's just they just took turns at it, and that's how it felt.
Now, how sad are they to keep this together though? Because it always becomes a cap question once you get to this place with the team.
Yeah, so Sweat already took a pay cut, I believe, and then he's a free agent. But Milton Williams, I think, is going to be hard to keep because he's going to be worth so much money, and just going for that, and they're good with their comp pick kind of stuff. So I'd be curious. That I think they can keep one of those two. I'm curious which one they do. I think they do keep Sweat, as opposed to Milton Williams, because like I said, Williams is just going to get more. But it is hard to. But that's what's nice. Again, when you have depth. You have a guy, I mean, they do this on the O-line too. This Eagles team, that's what's insane. It's like they go, oh yeah, Jason Kelsey's going to retire. Oh yeah, Cam Jurgens, don't miss a beat. Because now we have a succession plan there. So I think Milton Williams is the guy that ends up getting, I wouldn't say squeezed out, but goes on to greener pastures somewhere else, just because of the money game that they have to play.
So them and their offensive line, and I'm going to get to the Chiefs in a second, kind of tied off of this. But the idea, and Dominique has talked about this all the time, why is it that if you are a team, why aren't your guards always tackles, right? Like, why are your guards not always guys that you've kicked inside? Why would you not? Everybody, by and large, you're playing guard because you're not something. Like, I remember when Quentin Nelson was in the draft, and I was like, okay, 6'5", 340. Explain to me why he's not playing tackle. He does not have the arms of a tackle. Oh, okay. So if you think somebody has the physical specifications of a tackle, why not just make him a guard?
And just kick them inside. Some guys don't have this play strength, like as far as core strength and everything, and lower body strength to kind of stay inside at guard. But depends. This is kind of what Kyle Shanahan kind of did for a little bit, or even the Packers did for a little bit, whereas they would just kind of go, all right, this guy's athletic enough to be a left tackle. I'm going to put him at left guard. Yeah, he might get bull rush, but guess what? We're just doing bootlegs. We're getting these guys on the move. He doesn't have to sit back and drop, step back and block these guys one-on-one. But that's kind of why usually if you have that build, it's that leaner power forward build, except you're 310 pounds, as opposed to guards just kind of have maybe that ass of a guard. There's a tackle in this class, Kelvin Banks from Texas. Some people think he can stay at left tackle. I think he's an automatic guard. It's one of those where I look at him, I'm like, that's a guard. Like, just his build looks like a guard. And I think maybe even just think of like just like you're holding the gap, like you're holding steady in there, being stout on the interior. And I think maybe some of that as well is how you can anchor on the inside. I think that's the big thing, is that play strength.
Well, that actually takes me back to a question about the Eagles' defensive line, which is, and I talked about this a little bit on Monday. They don't really make the ornery some bitch in football the way they used to, but Central Casting sent Jalen Carter to us all.
As far as just like that was Mount Washington again.
Yeah, he's just he seems very unhappy, right? Like when it's time to play football, he is not in this for the love of the game.
Yeah, did you even see him celebrate? I don't know if celebrate is the right word. He like stood in his locker and just stared at everybody. They were in Brazil. And I took a screenshot of this. I haven't yet to find a great. I wanted to meme it. Haven't found a great use for it. They were in Brazil and like they're playing music, with the local scene, and everybody's just going nuts. And he just walked around, just going like this, no smile. Everybody else is laughing, having a great time, but it was great. There's a whole crowds around all the other players. No one was around Jalen. Everybody's like, yeah, we're going to give him his space. And so that also tells you a little bit too. And he's trying to lift up people all the time. That first hit, he had the first third down he hit on Patrick Mahomes when he chased Mahomes down. Like, it's violent. Like, I've never seen a guy chasing a quarterback down and somehow still deliver a violent hit, like as he's like falling away from him. Like, but that's what he plays with. That's why he's really good. And that's why I'm scared of him. And I've never even had to play against him.
Well, like I remember that draft, and he went number 9. While many thought he was the best player in the draft, and obviously there was the drag racing situation, which is the reason why a lot of teams did not take him. But like even with that in mind, you're the Eagles and you see him at 9, you got to be like, either this is a lemon or we're about to get a steal. There's no in between. Like that's where you go back up to the Raiders, and I guess at that point, the Raiders really, if I remember the timing properly, the Raiders like really couldn't take somebody with a driving situation, or that may have been before that happened with Ruggs.
But Ruggs was before it. Yeah.
But taking Tyrese Wilson over Jalen Carter is one of those that you wish you had back, and that's no shade to Wilson.
And it was consensus on Carter too. It wasn't like just like a couple people really liked him and all that, but it was. That's one thing the Eagles have that's a nice thing, is they do have a lot of good high character guys, as far as that kind of maybe set them straight, at least in theory, that's the theory of it. And maybe some teams are like, oh, we just don't have the locker room for that, which tells you kind of maybe what you're getting into with him too. I mean, but that's why you can take some risk. The Eagles can take whatever risk they want. They always just have the picks for it. They have the circumstances for it. We'll see maybe when some of those guys get older, like the Lane Johnsons and stuff. But I mean, good times are rolling right now. But I mean, that guy was the number one guy for months. I mean, anytime you watched when you watched what's his face, Trayvon Walker go to the Jags, you're watching a Georgia tape and you're like, well, well, that guy is the real guy. The guy wearing the 80-something number is the real dude. Like that's the dude. That's the guy that's standing out. And I mean, it was pretty obvious that like he's going to have this kind of impact. But again, just talk about other attributes as prospects or other things that teams consider.
Yeah. And Trayvon Walker, by the way, who's turned out to be pretty good. Like that was
nice little number 2.
That was the rare, number 1 overall pick. Like generally, like Eric Fisher was one of those. I'd never heard of him until the draft. That never happens. Walker was the guy that wasn't putting up numbers. And look, he's gotten to the league and been a guy that's going to be like a double-digit sack guy. Like, I don't know if he's been number 1 overall level edge good. Like, are you really happy you took him over Aiden Hutchinson, for example? But you are right. On that team, nah. The dude just wasn't eligible for the draft yet.
It was, yeah, they have that. They would have, teams will have, you have character grades, you have medicals, and like literally you have your big board, and then you'll see some talented guy on that other sideboard, and you're going, oh, why is he over there? And it's like, well, character, we're not even considering him, or medicals, we're not even considering him. I mean, some teams Moneyball, I mean, the Lions will take guys with injury history. That's like part of like why they can maybe find some players. Chiefs will take guys with character concerns. That's some of their, even the punter who sucks. They will take, both of their specialists have character concerns, I would say. But they just do not, like, that's part of why, how do they get Tyreek Hill in this class? Well, I could tell you why. Like when you are able to have these guys on your board that others aren't even considering, that changes how the boards and everything goes too. But yeah, that's exactly right. It's like some teams aren't even considered or players, I should say.
Now, let's get to the Chiefs here.
Okay.
This year, and I felt like they got far enough this year that I ignored everything I had said about them this year, only for it to prove that everything I'd said about them before was actually correct. I'm trying to feel like I'm trying to find a way to be right and wrong at the same time. I think that is I was right, and then I took a break for the Super Bowl. And if you really think about it, you know what I'm saying? You can rewind and go check all the times that I was right, and I just didn't have the resolve. I ain't had the courage to stick by my convictions. You know what I'm saying? And get us to where we're going.
I kept saying it was heart versus head, and I kept like my head was like, well, the Eagles are a better team. Eagles have this, right. And then my heart just kept going, but Mahomes, but Andy Reid with a bye week,
right. Like that, we weren't tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't.
There was proof of concept of this working a year ago. Yes. That's the way I kept coming back to it. I was like, everything is telling me no, but
yes,
I just saw this happen, and I thought the same thing last year. And
look, man, quietly, very few things are as much fun for people, and I'm just telling you this every get the chance, is getting a bunch of people who do the jobs that we do, when we sit around and talk about how I never thought I could have possibly been wrong about this thing. Like, I worked with Dan Le Batard after he famously lost the bet to Charles Barkley that the Heat would win the finals in 2011, and Charles picked the Mavericks. And in order to satisfy the bet, Dan had to come out at the Clevelander in some Speedos, which, not the God, not your boy. I'm not agreeing to these terms. I guess these are things that bigger people do, right? Like the stakes are high on both ends. Yeah, I don't think I would engage in that. Although now I'm not gonna lie to you. Now that I've been out here, hitting his weights, dragging his cake, you might get my vain ass out there.
Right. You all of a sudden the outfits and the bets change when once you get in shape.
Yes. Like I might do that. Dan, however, was not coming from that place in his cardiovascular journey. But anyway, I started working there with him like 2 years after this happened. And he was still talking about how I couldn't believe he lost. Like it's still, and this is Dan who doesn't care about these things, right? It's still stuck with him that he thought this one, I'm like, look, the one that happened with the Bucks, I knew that play won. I was like, yeah, okay. I immediately saw what I had done wrong. This one, I knew the possibility was there, and I still was like, I didn't think he was going to play like cheeks, just straight cheeks. But this is the thing that I wanted to talk to you about specifically about it was they've got a pretty team-friendly quarterback contract, considering who the quarterback is that they have. They did that on purpose. They have a young defense that has a lot of talent. But they seem to have made the opposite of the Jalen Hurts decision, where the Eagles have decided to surround him with everything and not ask him to do that much. And with Patrick, they're like, we have him. I've been this guy at work. It is very exhausting. The idea that you will be the person that will just carry this whole operation. But I thought the whole point of signing that cheapo contract was so that wouldn't happen. But am I wrong in saying that's what seems to be going on here?
It's team friendly, right?
Yes.
We're supposed to help the team out. Like, where's that all going? Where's the money going? Do we need another producer?
He the new Dirk. You remember they used to do that to Dirk all the time. And Dirk would be out there, yeah. What y'all doing with my money?
Yeah. Now, where's that even going? I mean, Brady took the cuts, but at least I was seeing some results out of it,
right.
With those. You even talked about how the losses, you were talking about Levitar too. It was like, you remember the losses way more than the wins. I couldn't tell you any take I got right, but I could tell you every take I got roasted for or whipped completely. I go, see, what happened was this happened, and this guy didn't make his block, and the game script would have been different.
Hear me out. No. I'm going to tell you the takes I remember the most. Now it's a whole new wing. Now that I work for a company with a robust social media operation, the takes I remember are the ones that were offered that wasn't really my takes, right? So I'm going to just throw this out here. It happened the other day. I haven't had a chance to talk about this. I was doing Mello's show, and I was making the point that if I were the Warriors, I would not trade Kuminga to get LeBron James. I wasn't saying I wouldn't trade Kuminga for LeBron James straight up. I'm saying that in the package that you have to put together to get LeBron, they start talking about Moses Moody, but I'm not talking about this guy. Man, they chopped that shit up. I got half the people in the NBA thinking I'm a moron because they think I'm saying that Kuminga is a better player than LeBron James. Well, that wasn't what I was saying. I'm saying I'm not doing this package. I'll remember that forever. Forever, I tell you. And I saw it flying around on the internet. I'm like, why does everybody think this is so stupid? And I'm like, because they don't know what I actually meant.
The whole context of it. Well, that was Broncos fans got after me Thanksgiving Eve. And it was one of those where I looked at my social media. I was like, man, I'm getting buzzed. Like, my Twitter is going nuts right now. Like, what the hell? Whenever I see that flash, it says 20 plus in notifications. And I didn't tweet recently. I'm always just like, uh-oh. This is good or bad. Like, something got into somebody's algorithm and someone. And sure enough, it was like a video about Bo Nix. And it wasn't even that bad. It was not like, I was just going, I still have to show some things, but he's improving. The run game's decent, all this stuff. Holy crap. You would have thought I said this guy can't walk and chew bubblegum. I can't believe the Broncos made a mistake. And I watched the clip, but how it got quote tweeted, like, even as that little edited clip, I was like, that wasn't that bad. But what happens is, it's like people don't read the articles. They can't even watch a minute and a half clip now. And so they're just quote tweeting, you're dogging me. The stats are bad in this. I'm like, you guys didn't watch it. But after a while, I was like, I'm not replying to any of this. Mute. It's Thanksgiving Eve. I'm thinking about stuffing. This is not what I signed up for. The games are tomorrow. We'll move on from this. But I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the day about it. The day that happened was because of all that.
Bo Nix is a very particular case of a very particular archetype. And that case and archetype is how you felt about him going into the NFL had a lot to do with just how much college football you watched. Because if you only showed up for the Bo Nix show at Oregon, there's a way that you're going to look at this. If you were here for the whole ride, I'm sorry, brother. It's going to take more than 1 year of NFL football for me to come around. You know who else looked okay after 1 year of NFL football? Matt Corkle. That boy Matt Corkle down there in Jacksonville looked all right after 1 year. It's a long list of guys that have thrown a good year out here.
Yes, he did. Mac Jones had like a top 5 rookie statistical season in the last 20 years. Like, it was up there. He had a pretty good situation around him. That matters as well. And also, it's what you got to watch what these guys are asked to do. And that's why I won't anoint Nix. And I think, he's fine. But my write-up even on him was, this guy could be a solid starter in the right system. Not saying franchise guy, not all this, right surroundings, I should say, not system, but just surroundings, ecosystem. Sean Payton's a great ecosystem to start with. A good, one of the best offensive lines, and I got to give credit to them, is a great ecosystem to start with. But again, It's got what you're asked to do. And that's why I kind of just can't go like, oh, yeah, that's the guy. He'll be fine. But it's just, is he a true needle mover? Because he hasn't shown any different than what, like you said, even at Oregon when he was setting the completion percentage stuff, it was like, yeah, but he's got to push the ball a little bit. There's still a little bit more. I'm looking here. There's still a bit more fluidity in the offense and everything. So I'm with you because I still think when things go sour, you see the Auburn Bo Nix creep up a lot more than the Oregon calm Bo Nix.
Well,
and I think that's what Peyton's trying to harness a little bit.
It's the Sam Darnold, right? We just saw the best that we could possibly see of Sam Darnold. And then we looked up and we were like, hey, that looks a lot like Sam Darnold now, doesn't it?
Yep. That's, I always think of, he's not the best example for this, but the Tebow fixed his mechanics storyline we would get every offseason, every single offseason.
Yes.
And as soon as the bullets started flying, as soon as he got a pass rush at him, there's that ball dropped to his hip as he's winding up to throw it. And I was like, so what happened? Why do we care? They revert right back to what they are. That's what Josh Allen sometimes when he gets a little.
Yes, he does.
First drive against the Chiefs, he's amped up. What do you revert right back to? Ball 10 yards over a guy's head.
Look, man, it's kind of how I realized early in high school that like my knees quit me before this became a relevant thing. But when I realized that there was but so far with like organized basketball that I was going to go, which is there never reached a point where a full court press was not a 4-alarm blaze in my mind. Like the press goes the same way every time. Get the ball back to the middle. They get you here, you get it there, you get it there. Like it is a pretty simple ABC sort of situation. Whenever I got the ball, boom, 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 boom. Yes, that was chaos.
As soon as you
chaos.
See the duck. As soon as the trap comes and you see the guy duck.
Yes. Yeah, it's just like, oh man, this isn't like that was what it, I bet right now, if you send two people to double me on the sideline, it could go either way.
It's quicksand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember
I always say about basketball, man, 1-on-1, I had something for you. 2-on-2, I had something for you. You keep adding more people. I'm a thinker, not a reactor. I think that's what happens to a lot of guys playing quarterback is you are a thinker and not a reactor. Like, look, man, I don't want Dan Marino to do my taxes, but he's a reactor, right? Like you get him out there, he's got it. Brett Favre, clearly not a thinker, but quite a reactor.
No, that's the best way to articulate that. Obviously, I'm talking to you, but that is something I've tried to get on because I am a thinker. Even at quarterback, like I can get on a whiteboard and be the best with them. I could, hey, what's this protection? How you draw it up? They do this, you draw it up. Oh yeah, that's why I can do this review stuff because I got 15 times to watch a film and break it down and everything. Then you get around guys, and I would say this like a guy like Daniel Jones, obviously a Duke grad. I heard he's tremendous on the board, all that stuff. What happens when the bullets start flying? Freezes. This isn't what I pictured. Like, this isn't what we did on film the entire week. And it's like, you got to play ball. You got to be in the NFL. We want these guys to be sheriffs and just these do. And some guys can do that 80% of the time. It's about that 20% where it's shit hits the fan. Like, what do you do off script or even just ad lib? Just a little bit, like just doesn't, you can stay on script, but maybe just, okay, do a little sidearm throw or take that extra little hitch and get rid of the ball. This is why I loved Drake May is because you can tell he's a freaking football player and a gamer on top of having some other stuff too. But I've always tried to figure out a way to kind of articulate that. Because even a guy like Russell Wilson, who I backed up, Russ is good on the board, like real good on the board. And he's the ultimate, you see him play, it turns into a lot of improv and it turns into a lot of creation. So he's kind of funny where he is actually classically trained until he gets onto the stage. And then all of a sudden it just goes out the window. And that's why a lot of coaches and why he thinks I'm a mini Drew Brees. Because if I ask him to do stuff on the board, he's great. But actually how he plays does not match that at all. So I always think that's like a disconnect with a guy like that. It's just like what they say they can do or show they can do, but then what they actually do once everything goes live. I like that. That was
thinker reactor. You know what? I ain't even gonna charge you. I ain't even gonna charge you.
I appreciate. No, I've been trying to figure out a way how to articulate that for years because Daniel Jones is always my example with that. Like, and myself, just going like, no, I could tell you everything to play. The play install, fifth read on everything. As soon as the defense did one thing I wasn't expecting, I was fucked. So
Yeah.
and there's guys that are like that and guys that aren't. Guys, it doesn't matter what they see or they're prepped for it and stuff. So love that.
All right. Coming up next, I had a question about the Chiefs, and we got to some other interesting stuff, but I'm going to get back to that actual question right here on the right time. The NFL season is officially over, but the NBA is only heating up, which means you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup with NBA or even college basketball in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing from me, let's hear from our expert picker. All right, Sean, how the picks been going?
Bo, I believe I'm an expert in losing because this month obviously has not been the best. But for all my picks, now I can focus solely on hoops. And with the flex play, I can still cash out if my lineup isn't perfect. But as always, make sure you stick around for the end of each show to hear my upcoming picks. And if you know me, you know I'm always picking more.
There we go. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, so we're back with not Mike Tice, Nate Tice. Slight difference. You know what I'm saying? Only about 75 pounds. You know what I'm saying? A slight difference that we got.
Oh my God, I think you nailed it.
I got the eyeball for the situation. But with the Chiefs, it does seem like offensively their move has been like the high dollar positions on offense now are quarterback, wide receiver, and tackle. And where the Chiefs don't seem to be great is at wide receiver and tackles. Their interior line seems to be great. Are they asking Patrick to do too much? Because right now, we were just going off of statistics. We got 5-6 guys that we would say are better quarterbacks than Patrick Mahomes. We're not going to say that because that would be preposterous, but it doesn't feel like, as much as we talked about, he landed in the perfect situation for him. If he landed in this current situation, we would not say that.
Right. I think what happens, or when I'm watching that, and I see a lot of Bengals fans using that game as like, see, Mahomes can't handle pressure like Joe Burrow does. You know what Joe Burrow's still throwing to, even if he gets pressured? T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They have a true overwhelming strength at one of those spots. And the Chiefs don't. Xavier Worthy's a role player to me. DeAndre Hopkins' his best years is 3 years ago. Travis Kelce, it was bad. Like, that was a real bad performance from him, not even just as a receiver, but blocker as well, too. So even if the offensive line is falling apart, now it's not even a strength because our left guard is playing left tackle. And then our right guard, Trey Smith, is about to get paid and has been much better. He had a bad year last year, been much better again this year, but he's not great. Like, he's more, I would say, solid to good. So we have a center, and that's it. And we have all these resources. We have all this investment. We have a first round pick at receiver. We have a highly paid guy on the offensive line. We have a highly paid right tackle. None of those guys have justified the investment. They might be fine. They might be solid. They might be even good, but the investment in them has been so much higher or potentially higher than that. So like Joe Tooney's getting paid a lot, but that's to play left guard. Now he's playing left tackle. And now that's a bad investment. Yes, I'm just using that as just like a mini example of that. So that's where it's like, okay, who are the other needle movers on this offense? All the best quarterbacks need other needle movers. Even when you get to Josh Allen, it's, Deion Dawkins is all pro caliber left tackle. Spencer Brown was one of the most improved players in the NFL. That's right tackle. Their interior three are all fine to above average, maybe even good. But there's no weakness there. But we have a needle mover at left tackle. That's already one more than Mahomes has this year. I mean, maybe the center. So maybe one each. Okay, there. Then you got good all across. James Cook was a needle mover this year. Receiver wise, they have a bunch of solid, I'll just say solid guys out there. But the investment in it isn't matching what the Chiefs have invested in their guys. So that's fine if Khalil Shakir is solid. He's a 5th round pick. Maybe Dalton Kincaid maybe want a little more out of him. But that's where I just go with the Chiefs is like the investment in these guys has not matched their production or matched what they do for the offense. Yes, they can do what's asked of them. In the NFL, you have to do more. Like, that's why you get paid. That's why you get drafted high. You change what the rules are. You break what the rules are. You do more than what you're given. Xavier Worthy got washed out on the first play that was designed for him. That's not why you're drafted in the first round. Yeah, you're going against another first round corner, but you're drafted in the first round to win. Like that, yeah, it's not easy, but that's the NFL, and that's why you're supposed to be good. So that's where I just look at it. It's just, I was trying to break down what they're going to do this offseason because I'm like, they still need so much. They need another skill guy in some way, shape, or form. They need two. They need a running back. They need a tight end potentially. They need at least another receiver, maybe two. Whew. They need a left tackle. They need a right guard potentially. Like, oh my God, that's a lot. So I'm with you that it's like this situation is not great right now, even with the investment in it. That I just can't point to a lot of needle movers other than Creed Humphrey, and that's a center. Who? That's it.
The margins of the NFL are so thin. They were this close to a three-peat, and we're like, hey guys, I don't know what they're gonna do. They just beat everybody they were supposed to beat, right? They went through games. Young up and coming CJ Stroud. They went through Josh Allen.
Yep.
And we're still like,
it's unbelievable.
Which raises an interesting question. My buddy Kravitz sent this to me. It is from a Reddit post, and I don't know how territorial they are about citation, but I like to give people credit for ideas that are not my own. This guy calls himself Western Customer 536. I can't believe I'm reading out whole such a name, but here we are. But he said this about the Chiefs. He says that they 1983 themselves, and the point he makes is this. All the quarterbacks from the 83 draft went to the AFC. Elway, the great ones, Elway, Kelly, Marino. The defense of the AFC went light and fast to stop them. Then they lost the Super Bowl every season from 83 to 97, right? Riggins was the MVP of Super Bowl 17. The Hogs were the stars. They started an arms race for bigger and stronger offensive lines. Defenses would compensate. They all got big and strong. And it wasn't until the zone blocking for the Broncos came around that the AFC kind of swung it over again. Now, to me, one thing that kind of ignores, though, worth noting, is that the 49ers had Joe Montana in that run, right? So let's not ignore that part. The Cowboys had Troy Aikman in that run. Like, we can't ignore that. But the
incredible
NFC,
offensive line.
Yes, right. And the 49ers, quiet as it's kept, the part that they didn't get credit for, George Seifert should be in the Hall of Fame. And it's not just because he won the 2 Super Bowls, it's because he was the coordinator of what, for the duration of the 80s, was probably the best defense. Those 49ers defenses were nuts, right?
Yes.
But it did make me think and find it interesting. The NFC doesn't have quarterbacks, but when you look at who the best teams were in the NFC this year, they mauled you, right? Detroit was here to maul you. The Eagles were here to maul you. We could kind of go like, Washington's a little bit of a tricky
but
case.
They had a really good run game actually this year too. So yeah, Jaden and Brian Robinson. So yeah.
Right. The Vikings, they were not riding Sam Darnold on this, right? They were strong at the line of scrimmage also.
Best running game that they had since Kevin O'Connell got there, because Aaron Jones, the Rams run game, they maul you.
The point of both McVay and Shanahan system-wise is we're going to beat you up. That's part of why the 49ers are hurt all the damn time, right? The NFC is playing beat you up ball, and the AFC is doing what in all likelihood you should do with the quarterbacks that you got. But I do wonder how that will go when we get to these Super Bowls, because look, it's not just that the Eagles built a team that could win with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Jalen Hurts is still making $40, $50 million a year. Like, it's not like they're getting them cheap.
Right. And well, that's also too, is look at the transformation some of these teams try to make in the AFC. The Bills felt so much better on offense this year because they went, no, we're making sure our run game kicks ass. And it did for most of the year. Like, that's why I was super high on that Bills offense throughout this year. It's like, they have Josh Allen. Who cares who's playing receiver? Because the O-line's good and the run game's really good. And explosive. So like, that's like, you got to be able to do it too, especially with what defenses are doing now too. That's also the thing too, is that I always use the term ecosystem, but the meta going on right now, okay, if teams want to run quarters and they want to try and go, defensive lines are better than ever right now too. That's kind of another thing. So that's why getting offensive lines and run games and everything helps. It's just an equalizer. It's hard not only to have a quarterback drop back 40 something times to beat a DBs and coverage shells. It's hard for him to move in the pocket 40 times to find throwing lanes and not get hit every single time. That's exhausting physically, mentally, just awareness wise. But even the teams too, like the Bengals offense this year too, is I think that's been an underrated thing with these Joe Burrow Bengals offenses. It's not the sexiest run game, but it's efficient because they just get those 4 or 5 yards and they're able to do all that. It's like, but all these teams are trying to find ways to balance it out because it's just so hard to play hero ball if you just can't rely on the run game. Everything too, watching like the Chiefs back, they didn't run the ball much this game, but just even in the playoffs too, it's like it was efficient. It was one of I think they were like top 12 in success rate. it was like everything had to be perfect. And we just talked about, I was like, man, it's the NFL. Like, it's like guys have to take advantage of what they're getting. And that's what it just felt like. It was like Mahomes obviously had to be perfect, but it was like the line had to be perfect. The play call had to be perfect. You need somebody to like create something easy for somebody else, whether it's the line for everybody else, the quarterback for everybody else, or the coaches for everybody else. And it's like, if you're missing that, it's just like, whew, this is a grind. This is an absolute grind. So I'm with you. The AFC kind of has that quarterback advantage, but I always thought the NFC, even when I was breaking down before the playoffs started, I was like, man, look at this run game. Look at this run game.
Yeah.
Look at this run game. And the quarterbacks were kind of the secondary figures on those offenses.
Well, you made a point there that mattered, and it also ties back to the Super Bowl, what happened with Mahomes, and a place where I think you and I both, I mean, you are obviously in a different place where you are an actual football player, but like, I feel like you and I hang with the nerds on the football, but not exactly like of the space, right? We
I'm friendly.
appreciate, yeah, we appreciate what they have to offer and think that there's a perspective there to be
Absolutely.
added. But I do think the part somehow that gets overlooked, which is this a hitting game, right? And you can scheme
Body
up all this
blows.
stuff, and the whole idea, like I've said for a long time, that I think the nerds misunderstand that no matter what the math tells you about why it's more efficient to pass more, passing is so hard. Like, I think the mere act of throwing a football, right? Go get 10 people in a line and ask them to throw a football, and 3 of them will look like they know how to throw a football. Like,
Right.
I don't think I know how to throw a football. I think I can, but the spiral ain't going to go straight. It's going to spiral at some angle. Like, throwing a football is just a difficult thing, and then add all the pieces and everything else. But in the end, it's a hitting game, and you get hit early. You want less of it as it goes, right? Especially as players get older. But that's the thing. We saw that with Mahomes. They were lighting his ass up early, and I don't know how much time or whatever. I don't know what it actually was later because it looked like nobody was open. But that getting hit early matters in the way that you see things later. Like in basketball, John Thompson used to tell the guys, block all their first 5 shots. It don't matter if it's a goal 10, although remember it's a block. And that's just getting your shot blocked. We're not talking about getting your shit rocked. That's just getting your shot blocked. And so those mauling teams that you know are just going to, like, I know everybody's hitting hard, but some people hitting hard.
Right. And also, when you run the ball, everybody on defense has to be sound. When you throw the ball, it turns into an ISO game. Yeah, the protection and everything, but it really turns it into a one-on-one game. And so that's like, yeah, if you have any advantage there, I'm going to throw go balls all day and stops and all that. But most teams don't have that advantage every week. And I'm the run game thing. I'm trying to. It's like pitch framing, like in baseball. It turned out once they've realized we're able to break that down, their baseball nerds were like, "Oh, it's really important. Oh, catchers are really, really important, even more than we considered for years and years and years when we had sabermetrics and everything, and fielding and everything. It's like just because you can't encapsulate exactly what it is does not mean it's not important. Number don't always go up. Graph don't always go up. Like, so I'm with you. I had this one time where the Titans weren't running the ball well. And I just remember I was talking to my old podcast host, Robert Mays, and he was just like, why, even when they're not running the ball, why did the play action work? And I go, I know if I'm a 185-pound slot defender and that action is coming at me, and all I see is, well, I got to fit the D gap against Derrick Henry. That's the first thought in my mind. I don't care. It's not going, wow, they're only getting 2 yards a pop. I should not worry about the run game. It's nope, I have to tackle him again, because if I don't, he's off to the races. That's their first thought through their mind. And it's thinking about taking that knee to the chin and then seeing Derrick Henry run right by you and run over you. Like that comes to all the time. But also you kind of were saying like, oh yeah, I didn't play football, all that stuff. But the first thing people were taught in football is not throwing the ball. Offensive linemen aren't taught to kick step at 7 years old, 10 years old. They're taught to run block. Receivers are run blocking the most of their lives until they get into high school and then college. Quarterbacks are handing the ball off 95% of the time. You might get one kid that can throw deep, but he's not throwing articulate routes, meticulously timed routes at 12 years old. That people say all these stories that they are. It's like, shut up. No, they're not. No, they aren't. But that's the thing is like you're taught first to run the ball first. That's the first thing. And the defend the run, block the run. Blocking is one of the blocking and tackling. Fundamentals are important. These are the 2 best tackling teams in the NFL this year. Eagles and Chiefs. By every stat, every metric. Missed tackles, yards after catch, all that stuff. So yeah, that stuff absolutely matters. So just that human element always just kind of we're gonna figure out a way to get that data point for it and articulate it. But right now I'm in the trust me, bro, kind of stage of my analysis with it.
It's so funny you mentioned that though, because I played football in 7th grade and I played split in and a 3-back offense. And so the part I don't know if everybody realizes this, okay? But like I skipped a grade and then my birthday is at the end of August in a state that rolls over grades in September. So
I was July with August. I was the same.
Yeah,
like that.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm like 2 years younger than the grade, and then it's 7th grade. So you understand what's going on. And the kids that was the beast, obviously, were the ones that had got left back before. Like they was out there in a different space. Okay, cool. But you play split in football in 7th grade. It is the most boring existence that you could possibly have. Nothing is going on over here, right? And if you play defense and you play corner, then it's even more boring because they mad at you when you don't stay with your man over here at receiver, even though they're never, ever gonna throw him the ball.
They're staying 1 yard away from the sideline.
Yep.
They're trying to create space.
Yep. Like you don't like as the split, you don't even really get a chance to block in 7th grade because the dude is not. He's not respecting your presence over here. He's just going over there.
It's in Little League, remember Little League baseball, they always put the worst fielder in right field.
Yes.
Because no right-handed batter could hit opposite field.
Yes. Yes.
So we put the kid over there. The ball's never going that way. That's how it always felt Little League football.
That is the greatest honor. Like I was actually pretty good at like Little League baseball. I could do that, right? And because like if you know where to throw the ball, you are so far ahead of the rest of your peers, right? A little speed and a little know-how goes a long way in Little League baseball. But my pride is every now and then they try to be, rotate it around, be nice, and have the better players go in the outfield, but they ain't never stick me in right. I'd have quit first. I'd have quit before I played right field in Little League. I would have known what that
you knew what that meant.
Not what I would have known what that meant. I would have known I had no business out there. I saw the other kids. I knew I wasn't supposed to be over there.
It's funny you say that. It was one of my Little League team. I was like 6th or 7th grade. Same thing happened. They were just kind of like, so I was first base, pitcher, placed on the left. They put me at catcher. They kind of played everywhere. But then one time they put me at right field because the kid was sick. And I remember just looking, going like, and they're like, we need you in the lineup. So that just go out there. And I just remember even in 6th grade, I was like, you're having me take Jimmy's spot? I know what Jimmy is.
Right. I feel less insulted by the bench.
Right. I'll just wait till I pitch, I'll just wait. Am I batting 9? Or when's my next spot in the lineup? Because I know all of us have to hit, some of that sort. So that's exactly it.
Like you put me on the bench, I'm gonna sit there with a clipboard and act like I'm doing what I would see on TV, where the starting pitcher was charting the next game. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But you put me in right field, man. I don't care if you hit the ball dead in front of me. I ain't getting that shit.
It's boring, trotting up.
I'm not here.
You can maybe even throw a guy out at first. That sometimes happens. the Tony
Little
Gwynn.
League baseball. I don't think there's any game that has a wider range of good and not good. Like how good the good is and how bad the bad is, like Little League baseball. It is wider than anywhere else.
When you get that Danny Almonte, when you face that one kid that, can we check his birth certificate? And oh my God, we played a kid. I'll never forget his name, Marty. Marty ended up playing basketball in college. He ended up being like 6'9", maybe 6'7", somewhere of that range. I want to say he was from Apple Valley, Minnesota. Dude was a lefty and so much taller than everybody else. That ball, no one knew where the ball was going when he pitched it. But when you're in 6th, 7th grade and you don't know where the ball is going and it's going faster than you've ever seen anything in your life, it's an instant strikeout. He just has to get 3 somewhat over the middle because some kids were just blind swinging. But like, there's nothing more overwhelming than watching that. You see some talented basketball players when they're younger, okay, but you watch some kids, some flamethrower in 6th grade, watch that. It's comedy. Seeing these kids try and just hit anything, just not trying not to blink and just piss down their leg a little bit.
Yeah, I imagine there has to be nothing more humbling than to be like the really good baseball player. I think this happens in every sport where you're the really good, and then as you go up levels, it changes. But like all of a sudden, I can't hit the curveball. Is there anything in sport that removes more people than the advent of the curveball? Like you just go years where you're just hitting straight balls, and then next thing you know, here comes the deuce.
Oh, that's so many guys talk about that when they climb up with the minors, and they were just like, all of a sudden, they weren't even just throwing breaking balls; they could locate them. They're throwing breaking balls for strikes. So it's like, yeah, don't throw it. Don't okay. Off speed pitch, don't swing. It's going in the dirt. I remember when kids started throwing off speed stuff. That's all I always thought. It's like, don't even swing, just wait for it. And all of a sudden, they're throwing doing backdoor sliders on you, doing front door change ups, circle changes on you and stuff. Imagine or you're batting like 480 in high school, like some of these kids do. On base percentage is like 670. They hit 10 home runs and 40 at bats, all that. And then they get into that first rookie ball. And then you see their stat lines, 187.
What?
2 hits and 42 appearances, something like that. It's like when you see Michael Jordan went down to Double-A, all of a sudden he's like, probably.
Like it was amazing that he hit 200 after having not played baseball for like
Double-A.
years.
That's saying something in Double-A, because that's actually when, like we're saying, that's the jump is usually Double-A's when all of a sudden pitchers are real. Not only are they throwing fast.
People don't realize. I actually look back on it and I have an admiration for his willingness, because buddy,
no, I'm looking up.
That had to be embarrassing at some points.
Yeah,
and you're Michael Jordan, and you don't care about that embarrassment. Because I got news for you, brother. I do. Okay, I do care what my friends think. Like there's some levels of things like I'm getting better about that as I get older. But man, I couldn't imagine being out there. Like I remember the point in baseball where, against the best pitchers of the level, it reached a point where I couldn't even get that thing off the shoulder, bro.
It's just like, do I even pull the trigger?
Yeah, and even if I do, what's going to happen? Like, for what?
I also, too, is that in baseball, say you just get buckled. Change up, curveball just like makes you look embarrassing.
Right.
How do you get them back? You just got to wait for your next plate appearance. And you might not even go against the same pitcher. Right. In basketball, I get dunked on. Someone splashes a shot in my face. All right, I can give it right back. Right. So now imagine psycho competitive Michael Jordan getting buckled on a pitch and then having to like wait.
Yes.
And just wait. I looked up his stats. He had 114 strikeouts, wasn't great. So about 500 play appearances. He had 17 doubles. Hit 3 home runs, had some ribbies. It was the strikeouts probably. He got hit by pitch 4 times. Can you imagine that?
But it all got better as it went. Like I bet the vast majority of those strikeouts were early. Like the willingness, because also looking bad playing baseball. Whoo boy, that's a bad look. Because I'm with you, I'd have just been hitting Mike with backdoor sliders and everything else, right? I'd just been throwing trick pitches at Mike.
Yeah. Oh, all off speed. Oh yeah, you just everything looping. How about you throwing 5 ephus pitches? And just see how he handles that.
But it also works out well.
Can you jump over my pitch?
But it works out well for everybody that baseball is not a shit-talking sport. If it was, it might have gone different. If they had been out there talking shit to Mike, Mike might have hit 350.
There's a little bit more that's coming. There's seeing more of these baseball docs, and you're kind of seeing a little bit more of the chirping that goes on too. But the thing is, too,
if they had been chirping at Mike, Mike would have turned himself into a 300 hitter.
He'd been like, "Hey, let me pitch." All right, here comes some sweet chin music.
So Mike got focused. Like Mike, what I learned from Michael Jordan in The Last Dance is that focus is a skill and that focus is a resource. And his ability to decide, I'm locking in on this. He would have turned into that dude.
No, it is a skill though. Like just drown, because we just talk about even though I wish I could drown out noise sometimes. I do too. Like we're like just ignore what people are saying, all that. But maybe we'll just go like, hey, I am making this shot or I am hitting this ball. And everything in my fiber of my being is focused on that with no other thoughts getting in my head. Yeah, that's absolutely a skill. Like you're just talking about any of the top guys. Also too, he was 31 years old. So you're talking about even like the pride thing. Baseball Reference has like the age differential for each class, Double-A. Yeah. Okay, how much old? 7 years older than the average age in his league because he was 31 and he was doing that. I mean, that's a lot of pride to just also be like, no, I'm getting good at this. Like, shout out to Michael Jordan. Shout out to Michael Jordan for playing baseball at 31. I'm 35. I won't even try a new class, like a workout class, because I want to get embarrassed by everybody.
You have to admire it, man. You have to admire it. That's the kind of detour that we get when I got Nate Tice on here with me. Check him out at Yahoo Sports, covering the NFL. My man, I greatly appreciate you.
No, thank you for having me. Also, shout out to Cooper DeJean for breaking 21 miles an hour on that pick six. Fastest defender with the ball in his hands this entire year in the NFL. Cooper DeJean, man. So, yeah. So, thanks for having me on, Bo.
On behalf of my people, we're losing the country, bro. We're losing the country. I'm just telling you right now, if something like that happened to white people, they start burning shit down. That would be the sign of the last days.
And people were doubting me. People were going like, nah, GPS. I mean, I thought it was a bit at first. And people were like, well, Next Gen Stats, can you verify that? Like, people were adding Next Gen Stats. No one was believing Cooper DeJean broke 21 miles an hour.
Told you, man, me and Dominique been on that for a year and a half, 2 years. We told people, we let them know this was coming. This was on the way. I felt vindicated. And you start looking close at them pictures, bro. Like, in a different century, we might have a different interpretation.
Oh, how about the wormhole we went down last time?
Yes, sir. Whoa, hold on. Was it with you that I was talking? No, I wasn't with you talking about Steve Van Buren, was it?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, Steve Van Buren, no doubt. That's a black man.
No doubt. Yeah, hold on. Van Buren, DeJean. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We need to do a documentary on how in Hades Van Buren made it on the team at LSU. Like, I just don't. I what lies was he down there telling people?
We could just reuse the name highly questionable. There we go. That's the segment.
He would just change the subject. That was just all it was. Or he get out there telling jokes. Like, I don't know if you heard about this, but, Mike Tirico said he was Italian and that's it for a very long time. And I think he just was I think he believed it, number one. But number two, I think he was just so adamant about it. People are like, you can't be lying.
Right. That he didn't even blink. Hey, we're talking about singular focus. Hey, you can do a lot there. I think it's the Babe Ruth picture test, though. You just hold up, Huh?
Oh, see, again, you got to know the era. In that era, that was not what a white man looked like. Like what a white man looked like changed. Like, that Salazzo in The Godfather?
Right.
Italians were not white at that time. I don't think they had let them in the club yet. And you look at him and you kind of sort of understand. He looked kind of like Wayne Fonts, who was another story in this whole thing.
It is. Oh man! And all of a sudden you're going, oh yeah, he was from this. He's from Baltimore. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. We're piecing this together now.
And the boys always be from some kind of port.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right. Van Buren as well. Because Van Buren was from, did we figure out it was like Trinidad and Tobago or something? He was from Honduras. That's what it was.
It was Honduras. Now, granted, Cuba DeJean ain't from no port. However,
no. He's from a landlocked country, landlocked state. So yeah, okay. Well,
we take this back a couple generations. He might have been down there in the quarter with us. Never know. Shout out to Congo Square. Nate Tice, brother, I appreciate you.
No, thanks, Bo. Thanks for having me, dude.
All right, man. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. Be sure to check us out ad-free, $5 a month via Supercast. Be sure to check that out. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. Sean Yu handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.